3, verse 1, and this is the revelation of Moshe for the first time. The moments where prophets get their revelations for the first time, some of them are very, very powerful moments. Like when you think about Shmuel the prophet, when he got his revelation, you think about Isaiah, Ezekiel. These are powerful moments, their first moments of prophecy. And of course, Moshe's is one of the most famous of all, if not the most famous. Is this the week that you're giving a talk, Ben?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I actually did look for this exact
Okay, beautiful.
section, yeah,
So you will study it in depth together.
great.
Moshe haya ro'eh es tzon Yisro. Moshe was grazing the sheep of Yisro. Chosno, his father-in-law, Kohen Midjan. He was a priest of Midjan. Vayinhag es atzon achar hamidbar. And he led the sheep into the wilderness. It's a very strange expression. Achar hamidbar. I don't know where else it appears, but it's a big dispute. How do we translate it? Vayavo el har Elohim choreva. And he came to the mountain of God in Chorev. Depending on how you translate Achar Hamidbar, depends where you think Mount Sinai is. But it's pretty clear from this verse that Mount Sinai is in Midian. And it's pretty well accepted today that Midian is northern Saudi Arabia. This is why most people think that Mount Sinai is in northern Saudi Arabia. So what does it mean, Achar Hamidbar? Rashi doesn't translate, but he tells us why he was taking the sheep far into the wilderness, because he wanted to take the sheep to a place where there would be no theft. We say in the Daf Yomi yesterday that you're not allowed to be a witness or a judge if you're a shepherd. You're not allowed to raise small sheep in the land of Israel. The implication is you'll be stealing by grazing on other people's property. That's what they accuse shepherds of doing. So Moses went and he grazed his sheep far away from everybody else, because the shepherd is as a profession that's looked down upon in the Talmud because they're stealing. But so he specifically did it so as not to graze in the fields of others. El Har Elokim, why is it called the mountain of God? Al Shema Atid, because of its role in the future. Meaning to say, Rashi saying here it wasn't yet called the mountain of God, but it was for the future. According to the Midrash, we have here that there are 6 names for Har Sinai. Har Elokim, Har Bashan, Har Gavnunim, Har Hamad, Har Chorev, Har Sinai. These are the 6 names.
Har Bashan, Har Gavnunim, in the verse in Tehillim, is what the rabbis say that the other mountains were dancing around, asking Hashem to choose them. But why would that be called? Why would they be names of based on this explanation?
You have to look up the Midrash Tanchuma to Bamidbar 7. That's where this citation is from. The idea that Yisro was the Kohen. When we went to, if you went to northern Saudi Arabia, they have the well that Moshe went to. And they also have, which is a huge giant well, and they have built a museum right there for Yisro. Because Yisro is one of the prophets of the Quran. The Quran does not have that many prophets in it. And Yisro is one of the prophets in there. He was very, very big figure in the Arabian world and the Arabian theology. And so that's the significance of Yisro. Rashi's idea that this is called the mountain of Sinai for the future, the mountain of God because of the future events, is actually not what Rabbi Soloveitchik writes. Rabbi Soloveitchik says that the mountain that Moshe went there because he was always accustomed to going there to pray. Moshe had visited the mountain many times before, and this was a mountain he went to in order to commune with God. He was familiar with this mountain. And that's why he led the children of Israel back there. Let me see if I can citation here. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. Let me see. Here we go. Let me read to you what Rabbi Soloveitchik says. He's kind of a machokis with Rashi. He says the following. He says here, chapter 3. Okay, here. Let me read what Rabbi Soloveitchik says. The phrase in the beginning of the verse, Moshe was a shepherd, is the grammatical form known as a participle. Do you know what that is? Whatever.
Past, present, yeah.
If it were to be simply translated as Moses shepherded, that is in past tense, the phrase would read Moshe Ra'ah. The grammatical construction of the phrase provides information about Moses' occupation during those many silent years, where the Torah skips a lot of Moses' biography. Moshe was a shepherd, a roet zon, for many years. In contrast, the next phrase, Vayinhag hatatzon achar mebar, does seem to be in the past tense. Torah seems to be describing a specific incident. At this point, Moshe led the sheep to the desert. However, Rashi, and this is what I was saying that Rabbi Soloveitchik and Rashi have a disagreement, Rashi indicates that the phrase should not be interpreted this way, but should be a continuation of the participle construction. Rashi explains that as a shepherd, Moshe would regularly lead his sheep to the desert rather than stay in Midian so that the sheep would not graze in other fields. In the desert, there are no property rights and anyone's animals are allowed to graze. Meaning to say, Rashi was saying this was not a specific event, but this was an ongoing event, that Moshe was always leading the sheep into the desert so as not to graze the sheep in other people's property. So if the first two phrases are interpreted as participles, the third phrase and final phrase must be similarly interpreted to remain consistent. And Moses was, as an ongoing basis, kept on going continuously to Mount Choreva, to the mountain of God, over many years. As Moses led his flocks of sheep, he alone would regularly visit Mount Chorev. The word sown suggests a large number of sheep, and Moses was certainly not the only shepherd of this flock. He had assistants. Yet whenever he came into the desert, he would leave the sheep in charge of his assistants and go to the mountain of God. What was the purpose of this lonely journey? What did Moses do at the mountain? He prayed for his people, for his brothers who had left when he fled from Egypt. Moses had lost faith in his brothers. They were not worthy of the freedom. Moses likely prayed that his brothers should rise spiritually and psychologically and develop a sense of dignity, no longer to be informers who spy on their own brethren. Yet it was a time of Hester Panim. God's face was secluded. Moses received no answer until now. So let me explain what Rabbi Soloveitchik is saying. Rabbi Soloveitchik is explaining is that Rashi interprets the first two parts of the phrase as saying that Moshe was shepherding, and he was always taking the sheep into the wilderness so as not to graze them in other people's property. But since that reflects not a specific instance, but an ongoing activity, therefore the next clause, he was going to the mountain of God, was an ongoing activity. It's not that he went one time, that this was a mountain he would go to for seclusion, for communion with the Creator. And why was he going there? Says Rabbi Soloveitchik, he was going to pray for his brethren, the children of Israel. So therefore, that's the That's what Rabbi Soloveitchik is saying. That Mount Sinai was a place, it didn't become a holy mountain right when the Ten Commandments were given on it, but rather it was selected as the place for the Ten Commandments and the Torah because it was a place of prayer that Moshe had frequently gone to pray for his brethren. That's the concept that Rabbi Soloveitchik is saying here. Everybody follow that?
Yes.
So. Okay, anyway, so then we're at chapter 3, verse 2. Chapter 3, verse 2, and it states, Vayira malach Hashem elav v'rabat eish, and an angel of God appeared to him in a flame of fire. Mitoch hatzna, an angel of God appeared to him in a flame of fire from a burning bush, from a bush. Vayar v'nei asneh boer ba'eish, and behold, hey, Elon, welcome back. Behold, the bush was burning. Even though the bush was burning, the bush was not consumed by the fire. The fire was burning energy, but it was not consumed. So let's see, this is a powerful image, of course. Rashi says it was burning in a flame of fire. B'shalhevet eish, in a flame of fire. Alternatively, the heart of a fire. So we have this image of the burning bush from within the thorn bush. And the angel appeared to him from within the thorn bush. Rashi says, not in any other tree. Why specifically in a thorn bush? Because God is saying, I am with him in distress. Meaning to say, God appears in a bush to say, I'm also in a lowly tree. But the bush was not consumed. Ne'achal. Anyway, now that we have, this is the Rashi, but we can't open Rabbi Soloveitchik without wondering what does he say about the burning bush. I mean, can we really? This is like we have one of the greatest darshanim of our century. Let's see what he says about the God appearing in a burning bush. So he says as follows. Rashi says, why does God appear from the midst of a bush and not some other tree? Because I am with him in distress. You see, by the way, I wanted to say in the beginning, Rabbi Soloveitchik, master of so many texts, so many brilliant, PhD in the most complex theology and philosophy, known for his Talmudic genius. We looked at two of his comments on this passage. Both times he starts with Rashi. Right, they say Rashi says this, Rashi says this. He always that's it. Those are the only ones he quotes. See, Rashi is the text that the touchstone. The most greatest genius in the world or the simplest student start with Rashi, and they all read the same Rashi. And Rabbi Soloveitchik comes up with like deeper ideas. Hello, Yoav, hello, Elon. But that's the idea. So what does it mean? Why does God appear from the midst of a bush? Because, okay, hold on one second. He says, why did God appear from the midst of a bush and not some other tree? Because when Israel experiences life as if it were a thorny bush, when Israel lives in a degraded, foul life, I am with her. I share her pain. In our text, we see God as the one who dwelt in a bush. And as Moses later referred to him in this blessing, that God is dwelling in a thorn bush. So this is what Rabbi Soloveitchik says. Even when man finds himself in the depths of disaster and tragedy, even when he has lost everything, is completely lonely, stripped of everything that he had, God does not abandon him. All individuals experience darkness at some point, finding themselves in the whirlwind of unexpected troubles. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. That's in Job chapter 38. Maybe that's the point of the book of Job, not what happens, but that God will respond to us when we're in the whirlwind. God resides even in that whirlwind. When Job finally stopped inquiring as to the metaphysics of evil, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. This is Shoch Niseh, God who resides in the thorn bush. God is not only with man in physical distress, but also in spiritual distress. Even when a person has been involved in sin, God never deserts him. He is in the thorn bush, even though it is coarse, even though it bears no fruit and has no beauty, even though all it can cause is pain. God is right there in the middle. Wow. And just say one more thing from Rabbi Soloveitchik, because he's speaking so powerfully here. At least to me. Very powerful to me. By the way, did Ezra come? Not Ezra, Moshe?
Think, I don't know if it's coming for sure. It's only
Oh, he didn't go with you guys?
separate.
Okay, let me text him. I gotta make sure he's coming. Because we need him. I'll text him now. Hold on. All right, beautiful, beautiful. He's coming, I'm sure. He's so reliable. I call him reliable Moshe. He's like Moshe in the Bible. Okay, so I mean, nobody's like Moshe in the Bible, but he's true to the name. They used to say about Rambam was Moshe. And so they said from Moshe to Moshe, there was none like Moshe. And then there was the greatest Ashkenazic halachic authority in the 16th century was Ramah. His name was Moshe. So then it said from Moshe to Moshe, there was none like Moshe.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what they said. Hold on one second. Are we gonna have a minion? Just gotta make sure. Oh yeah, hold on one second. Uh-oh, I need to make a call to get a minion. Hold on one second, guys. Let me just pause it to make
Sorry.
yeah, hold on. Guys, I need to stop. I need to just make one call to get a minion. Just give me a moment, okay?
I mean, a few other people might show up, right?